What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and that was easy. A little too easy, if you ask me. I mean, you gotta take with the good with the bad. We had a bad result, and then we had a good result with an okay performance. And then you come into today, and you get a very good result with a good performance. That's good. But also, I gotta worry a little bit about you play against an opponent that just doesn't really cause you any trouble. They don't really press you. They don't do anything. It can lead to a little bit of complacency going into what we know is going to be a tougher game midweek. So I do hope that complacency doesn't set in. I don't think it will, but that's only that's my only concern going into the game against Porto. But yeah, going into this one, I mean, a lot of pressure on. And it was nice for Palace to just sort of say, "Take it, guys," because they don't really do much of anything. I mean, we had all of the pressure on us. They didn't really have any pressure on them to succeed. Like they're not really super close to relegation. They're in the mix, but they're not like in danger of it. But they're also really not fighting for anything right now. So you would think they just sort of go out and play without any care. Whereas we, this morning Leeds showed us again how ridiculous we looked last weekend, by beating the champions to be with a man down half the game. So once again, showing us how ridiculous our result against West Brom looks. And then Liverpool beat Villa. Thanks, Barkley, for your help, helping Liverpool there away from the club. And he's still one of our worst players. It's crazy. But yeah, now we're in sixth place, below West Ham, below Liverpool. Now we've got to get a result. And so we came out, we did our job. Palace didn't do theirs and made it easy for us. So it was good to see from a fan point of view. Like, I'm sure the neutrals watching are probably like, God, this is not a game at all. And the Palace fans are probably just embarrassed and want to go back to bed. But for us, like, it's nice to see that we didn't have to really push ourselves into the next gear to get a result. We just kind of did our job, made it look easy. We made the ball do the work. We didn't have to run around a lot, and it was an easy game. So first off, I want to talk about Tuchel. The lineup. Obviously, hindsight 2020, the lineup worked out fine. But before the game, a lot of issues, with this lineup. I want to know the mindset behind it, honestly. Because again, you've gone with Jorginho in the middle, and maybe he's just trying to get Conte back up to full fitness, so he doesn't want to risk him starting yet. But why not Mount? Why not Gilmore? Why Jorginho again? After a terrible performance against West Brom and a pretty bad performance against Porto. I mean, he didn't stink up the field like he did against West Brom. He didn't play for the other team like against West Brom, but he didn't help us, and he still caused some issues with his giveaways and his lack of defending. So why are we using him again? And it didn't hurt us today, but at what point is it going to hurt us again, and you're going to say, well, why are you still picking him? Graham Lasso at one point, Hudson-Odoi giving the ball away a few times, and Graham Lasso made a point of, he's got to pick himself up quickly because Tuchel makes a point of recognizing those mistakes and punishing players for it. I'm like, does he? Because Jorginho literally was assisting West Brom last weekend, and he's started 2 games in a row after that. So does he punish players for their mistakes? It feels more like he's rewarding Jorginho for his. So I don't understand starting him again. And then to go without a recognized striker, I don't get that. I mean, it worked out fine. Havertz played well as a false 9 today, but he didn't against Porto. So why try him again? Again, yeah, it worked out. But going into the game, I want to know what the thought process is. It didn't work in midweek. Why are we doing it again? Going without a recognized striker, he's done it once since he's become manager, and that led to a 0-0 draw against Leeds. So why are we doing it again? You've got 3 capable strikers. Now, Werner, I do want him on the bench for a little bit. I think he needs time out of the spotlight. I don't think he needs to start again anytime soon. I think he needs to get some substitute appearances. He needs to get a few good appearances from the bench under his belt to build that confidence back up. Because starting him is not helping. It's just making the situation worse because he keeps putting in poor performances, and it's just lowering his morale even more, and he just keeps getting worse every game because of that. So I don't think you need to start Werner. But you've got Giroud, you've got Abraham back from injury, and you don't even sub either of them on. Not only did you not start them, you don't give either of them minutes. Why? I want to know what Tuchel's thinking. Like, is he already planning for the future? Is he like, well, Giroux's probably not going to be here next season. Abraham, we might be loaning him or selling him, so I'm just not even going to give him time. Like, is that what's going on? Is that already been discussed? They're already planning on just getting rid of him, so he's like, I'm not even going to give him minutes? Because if so, that's ridiculous, because Abraham's got a bright future ahead of him still. I mean, he's still a pretty young striker, and he's shown he's capable of scoring goals, so why are you not giving him time? What did he do to piss you off? Because today, he should have come on as a sub at least. If he's still not fully fit, give him some minutes off the bench. But instead, he gives minutes to Conte, he gives minutes to James, he gives minutes to Ziyech, all players that have been getting plenty of time recently. And now, Conte and James, you could say, well, they're more defensive changes. You know, we're looking to just kind of hold on to the clean sheet, and then with James coming on at 3-1, we're just looking to solid up our defense a little bit, solidify our defense. Solid up? What is that? I don't even know what that means. But just looking to make it more defensive. But here's the thing, if you're looking at the run of play, yeah, Palace stepped up their game in the second half, but we still were creating tons of chances and not finishing them. So why not get a striker on that can finish them and then put the game completely out of reach for them? But no, he decides to go with a defensive midfielder, and then he goes with a more defensive right wing back, and then he puts on Ziyech at the end because who knows? And that's the thing. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about who his last sub should be. I'm thinking, you know what? Let's get Mount off, give him a break, because he's going to play again midweek. You know he is. And he's been playing a lot lately. He's been working his butt off a lot lately. Give him a break. Put a striker on. Move Havertz a little bit deeper, because I think he plays better when he's a bit deeper. And then go. But no. Kovacic comes off. Ziyech goes on. Mount drops deeper. I don't get it. I really don't understand. It's I don't know. I don't know what Tuchel's thinking. I wish I could get inside of his mind, because even though it was a nice result for us and it was a good performance, there's still so many decisions that he makes that I just do not, it doesn't logically make sense why he's deciding to do that. So far, most of his decisions have worked out, but that doesn't mean that they're always going to work out. At some point, you feel like the other shoe's going to drop and then all hell's going to break loose. But I don't know. But yeah, so that's as far as I'm going to go with Tuchel today. As far as the individual performances, Mendy wasn't really tested a whole lot today. Nothing he could really do on the goal. I mean, it was point-blank header, so yeah, he couldn't. I'm not even expecting like some of the top keepers in the world to make that save. Like, it's a good header. Defense should have done better picking up Benteke, and I feel like we should have worked out organization-wise. We should have worked out blocking the cross a little bit better, but it was kind of like nobody knew who to pick up, and by the time Conte reacted to try to go block the cross, I mean, Schlepp was already there about to make it. But yeah, as far as his feet are concerned, because that's one thing that I've been noticing a little bit more in the past few games, is his passing has been a little bit iffy. A lot of balls out of bounds, a lot of dangerous passes to our defense that can cause a little bit of anxiety. Today they were a bit better. I still feel like that's the one part of his game that he really needs to improve. So a bit of up and down in that regard, but as far as, I mean, the saving, he didn't have much at all. The back three, I thought all of them played well. Nothing really specific to pick out of any of their performances. Obviously, Zuma with the goal was fantastic, but he's been doing that all season, so I mean, it's kind of expected that he's going to be on the end of a couple crosses and possibly get one in. But yeah, I mean, Azpilicueta played well. Zuma defended well as scored. And then Rudiger, I thought, was solid on the left side. A lot less crazy today than some of his moments against Porto. But all three of them looked pretty good and even kept possession pretty well. And I'll go back to the fact that Palace didn't really press us at all in the first half. Second half did a little bit more. But even when the press came, sometimes I worry about Zuma and his technical ability on the ball. And he did okay today. Like, he looked solid. He didn't look nervous on the ball at all, so it's good to see. The wing backs, Hudson-Odoi, again, a problem I've had with him before, started well. He starts the game. First half, he looks great, creating a lot of opportunities, and he's in the right positions. His crosses are coming in well. He's creating dangerous chances. And then second half he fades. And it's been kind of the story of his season under Lampard, and even the few games he's gotten under Tuchel. He tends to fade second half. And I don't know, kind of depending on what the reason is, will depend on who's to blame for this. If it's a fitness issue, then Tuchel's to blame. I mean, Tuchel should be giving him more time so he can get that fitness, so that way he can play well throughout the entire game and not fade the second half. But if it's a focus issue, then that's on him. And it's probably part of the reason why Tuchel's not picking him more often, because if he can't stay focused throughout the entire game, then it leads to a lot of what we saw in the second half, which was misplaced passes or, a lack of making those runs that kind of just gives the ball right back to the other team. And it just, I don't know, it kind of puts us at a bit of a disadvantage because he provides so much good width for us that whenever he fades out of the game and he stops providing that, it can kind of cut off part of our attack, which then leads to a lot more of the other team has the ball, the other team's creating chances, and the other team's coming at us, and we're having to defend a lot more. So he does a little bit on both sides, but a lot of what he provides is when we're on the attack because it keeps possession away from the other team. So I guess we'll see if he manages to start a few more games and he grows and you can tell that he's getting better the more he's playing, then it probably is a fitness issue and Tuchel needs to be playing him more. But if it's just some games he's turned on throughout the entire game and some days he's only turned on for the first half, then that's a problem he needs to work on because that can really hinder a player. I mean, I've seen a lot of players who look like they're going to be fantastic and then they just kind of cut themselves off at the feet because they're not really pushing themselves to grow and to get better. And a lot of that just comes down to focus and a mentality to want to improve. So we'll see. He's had a couple bust-ups with Tuchel already. So kind of a lot of talk in the media and on social media, which of course is dumb anyway, because our world is so ruled by social media. Everything ends up on there, and it's so frustrating sometimes how much it's talked about. But it's up to the players really to kind of put all that aside. I would even say stay off of social media most of the time. Like, there's just nothing you can really do about it. Don't read the comments. Don't deal with all these stupid people online because most of them are. And just kind of push yourself and ignore all of the haters because there's always going to be. So, and then on the left side, Chilwell, not as involved in this one as he was against Porto. I think against Porto he had a much better game, but still very much a good game from him. Provided a lot of width on the left, which is something that Alonso needs to start doing if he if he wants to show what Chilwell is showing right now. He needs to provide that left side width for us because Alonso's always tucking inside. But aside from that, I mean, Chilwell's pace and his ability to defend, there's aspects of his game that he just does better than Alonso, and they're more crucial aspects in my opinion. Now, of course, all the talk is still that Alonso's Tuchel's man, but I hope personally that Tuchel is seeing what Chilwell's giving to the team and sees that he needs to be playing more often because what he does compared to Alonso, like the things that they're good at, what Alonso does that he does well, most of the time doesn't really help us in the long run. Like, it helps him, it makes him look better, but what Chilwell does helps the team overall with his defending and his ability to provide that space for us and draw defenders out. I mean, it's necessary. And most of the time, Alonso is just another striker, and we're lacking width when he plays. So, the two in the midfield, talk about Jorginho first. Today, he's still, in my opinion, at least in the first half. Second half, I think Hudson-Odoi would be considered our worst player. But the first half, for sure, Jorginho was our worst player. But today, it wasn't because he had a poor game. He had a decent game. But everybody else around him just had a good or great game, and he was just okay today. Just, again, he was given a lot of time to play, which helped him, but there's still moments that you can see why he's a liability in the midfield. The one good chance that Palace created in the first half came from his bad back pass right to a Palace player. Seems a little familiar, doesn't it? Like, I'm pretty sure I remember him doing a back pass to a West Brom player, right? That happened, right? More than once, right? The fact that he did it again, and then ultimately, what's funny about it is it led to Palace's best chance, which then led to a clearance, which led to the free kick, which led to our third goal. So you could, I guess the more diehard Jorginho fans are out there saying, no, see, he drew them out. He caused them to have a false sense of security, so they all stepped out, which set up Chilwell's chance to counterattack, which set up a free kick, which set up the goal. Jorginho's a brilliant playmaker. He did all of that. He started it. But the fact that he, again, is making the same mistakes that he made last weekend that led to a red card for one of our defenders and at least one goal that West Brom. I'm pretty sure there was another one where it was a bad back pass from him that led to another goal. But the fact that he did it again, I'm just like, how? How do you make the same simple mistake? And again, going back to Graham's comment, apparently Tuchel notices those mistakes, right? He sees those mistakes. Then why does he play so often? Why does he play the full 90 minutes against Porto? Why does he start 2 games in a row after those awful mistakes a week ago? It just doesn't make sense to me. But what he did well today is I thought he took up a decent position, which Palace's passing was not great either. But we did do a lot of good reading of their passing today all around the field. And that's something that Jorginho typically does well in his defense, is he can read the play and he can step in and cut off a pass decently enough. But, I mean, he got to show what he's good at today because Palace let him play. You know, they let him have time and space in the midfield to turn, to find passes. And when he has time, he looks fantastic. But the problem is most teams figured out how to stop that, and so they don't give him that time to play. Most of the time they're putting in pressure on him immediately, so he has to either go backwards or he gives it away. But Palace, I don't know, I guess they didn't do their homework, or they weren't working together as a team, and so it was kind of disjointed pressure. But they really, they let him play, which really benefited us. So, I'm not going to complain about that, but I am going to let out a concerned, this is not, proof that Jorginho is one of our better midfielders. This was not a good game to say, hey, look at Jorginho play, this is why we need him, because not every team is going to give him the time to play that Palace did. In fact, most of the teams in the Premier League don't give you that time. So that's just where I do get concerned whenever he has a performance like this against a team that doesn't put pressure on him. And then we go into midweek and he plays again, and Porto just instantly is always on top of him, and then he gives the ball away, and then they score 5, and now we're out of the Champions League. I know I have a very positive view on our future play and all, but think if somebody was even more negative than I am. Anyways, Kovacic today, not exactly one of his stellar performances, but still good enough. You know, he does his job very well. Very consistent in the midfield, very good about turning out of possession, keeping possession for it, or turning out of pressure, keeping possession for us. And I thought in the attacking third today, his passing was a lot more crisp, a lot more focused today. And I do think part of that was also the fact that there was a lot more movement up top today. Most of the time it's kind of stagnant, so I think he struggles to find people to pass it to, and sometimes that's why he ends up giving it away. But today, since there was so much movement, he always had options. He always had an outlet that he could give it to. And he is a very good passer whenever he has those options. And he showed that quite a few times today, actually. So, another good game from him, consistent performance. Then the front three, all of them I thought played well. It's kind of hard, honestly, to pick a man of the match out of these three, because all of them provided something a bit different. Mount didn't score today, but he did provide the assist for Zuma's goal. I think that's the only one he assisted. I can't remember if he assisted anymore. But aside from that, his play today, just so much energy, so much movement that caused the Palace backline to have to keep an eye on him at all times. He was drawing defenders to him, opening up spaces for other people. He's always a workhorse, and he showed again today why that's so necessary. Even if he's not on the score sheet, he's still giving space to the players that need to score. And it's something that doesn't always get recognized, and it's why so many people hate him for some reason. Because, they don't see the performance most of the time. They just look at the score sheet and they're like, see, Mountain didn't score. He only assisted 1 goal. Trash player. It's like if you watch the performance, he's the one creating these openings for other players to score. Which is why most managers find it hard to drop him from the team. So another good performance from him today. Pulisic obviously getting 2 goals, fantastic for him. But aside from that, his overall play today just looked a lot better. Kind of a dichotomy with Ziyech, where we were seeing, he's getting on the score sheet a little bit more recently, but his performances haven't really been getting better. He's still been giving the ball away too much. He's still not really been looking good on the ball. And then off the ball, he's not really been working that hard. Pulisic today not only got on the score sheet, but improved his play off the ball, on the ball. It all looked good from him today. So it's good to see that he's improving because we've needed him to get better. We've needed him or Ziyech, one of them, to grab that position and say, this is mine. And it looks like he's finally done that with this performance today. Now, of course, probably still not going to be using him all the time because, to be frank, I mean, it's kind of a concern with his hamstring. You never really know what to expect. So hopefully he can keep himself healthy. He can keep that hamstring from hurting again this season. But good to see a good performance from him today. Havertz, good performance from him. And I think what really underlines his performance today is the fact that I really still don't feel like false nine is his best position. Like, he's very good. His touch is fantastic. He had a couple brilliant touches in the box later on in the first half after his goal. He has that ability to take the ball down and put a nice shot in, but he's not really a finisher. And you could see that a couple times, with the one late on where he's one-on-one inside the 6-yard box. It's on his weaker right foot, and you can tell it's his weaker right foot because he essentially it's a little back pass right to the keeper. So he's not a finisher. And I feel like that's why, as a false nine, he doesn't really work, because he's not going to find the goal most of the time. Maybe about 50-50 he'll find the net whenever he's in those scoring positions. But he misses too many opportunities to really be a good false nine. Whereas you look at somebody like Hazard's scoring 75-80% of those one-on-one chances, which is why as a false nine he worked out fine. Pulisic even I could see as a false nine, because most of the time he does find those finishes in those one-on-one situations. So I don't feel like Havertz is really the best option there still. And I feel like his best position, he needs to be a little bit deeper because he is good on the ball. We've seen him be very just fluid with his dribbling skills, and the ability to turn opponents is fantastic. So I want to see him more dropping deep to receive and then turning and going at the defense and opening up spaces for players to run behind him. So if he's going to be a false nine, he needs to be dropped a bit deeper or play him in behind a striker. I think that could work just as well. But problem is that most of the time the system we're playing, we're not going to have somebody directly in behind the striker. You're going to have your two slightly wider players that are going to be cutting in, and you're going to have your striker who's either going to be staying high or he's going to be dropping it a bit deeper with the other two. And today it felt like Havertz wasn't really dropping deeper to receive. He was more staying high and being a target man, which he's got the height to do it. But I really feel like that's not his best game still. I want to see him on the ball more. I want to see him dropping to receive it more and not taking that player out of the middle of the field, not leaving a gap in our attack whenever he has to do that. And that's what was happening a few too many times for me today. So, excuse me. So that would be my main. It's not really even a criticism on Havertz today. I mean, it's just if that's what Tuchel wanted him to be, if he wanted him to stay high and be more of a target man, be somebody that's going to get him behind. I mean, he did that fine, but I don't think he has the finishing capability to be that successfully and really provide that more like every single game. It's going to be every other game he'll have a good game like this one, but he's not going to do it consistently, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but based on what I've seen for the past 2 games being that false nine, I feel like I've seen enough to know, he's not really. He could work at it, but right now he's not what we need there. And especially, again, we have 2 very capable strikers on the bench, one that's returning from injury and one that he's still shown time and time again this season that he is a fantastic striker. I don't know why they're not getting a chance to show if they can do it or not. So anyways, as far as the subs that came on, Conte still, you can tell he's still feeling whatever injury he got a little bit, because he was a little bit slow at times in this one. So kind of disappointing just because before the international break, you could tell he got back to full fitness. He got back to 100% Conte and what we love to see from him. And then, of course, the international break kind of screws everything over in more ways than one. And most of the time, it's injuries that international break can screw you over on. And yeah, I mean, you can tell he's not really feeling himself right now. He's not playing at 100% at the moment, giving the ball away a little too easily. He's not as quick to read situations right now. So hopefully, a couple more performances, he'll get back to being 100%. But right now, I can understand why Tuchel's not starting him, but I still don't really agree with starting Jorginho. But yeah, hopefully these substitute performances, though, will get him back to what we saw before the international break. James came on, and in my opinion, he did play well. One of my criticisms of him recently has been his lack of ability to really drive down the line and create much. But I thought he did that well today, and I do think it was helped by the fact that Palace was sitting so deep. It allowed him to be a bit more flowing forward, and didn't really have a lot of help defensively on the wings today. And there were so many times, not just James, but like Hudson-Odoi and Chilwell in the first half, had so many opportunities to just receive it wide, figure out what they wanted to do, either take on the defender or just cut it inside because they had so much time. So James had a lot of time today to create opportunities, and I think he's the one that assisted Pulisic's second goal. I feel like he was the one that put in the cross. I don't know if I'm right on that or not. Can't remember. But I just remember him making a lot of good runs and really being willing to be in that spot, which is not something he's done very well, in my opinion, the last couple games. So it's good to see from him. And Ziyech only had I think 6 minutes when he came on, total plus a stoppage time. Can't remember exactly when he came on the field. But even in that little bit of time, I could still tell he's still not quite the same that we saw earlier this season. He's still not. His touch still isn't there. He's still giving the ball away a little too much. He's still not quite reading the play well enough to be ready to receive and make things happen. So I don't know if he just needs more time or if we're seeing that he's just not quite the consistent performer that we thought he was going to be when he put in 3 or 4 good performances in a row. Maybe he's just going to have those 1 or 2 games where he's fantastic or he pops up with a goal, but then he's going to have a couple where he's just non-existent or he's giving the ball away too much. I don't know. It's just going to have to be seen with time. If he can improve, great. If not, then it's unfortunate for him. But all in all, though, that's about it for this game. I am excited going into the Porto game, and we have a good lead right now on aggregate. But also, I feel like after the West Brom performance, there was a lot of just talk in the media. There was a lot of stuff that I think put a lot of fans a little bit of anxiousness. But I feel like the Porto result, it was a good result. Like I said, it was a decent performance. We're still, I think, kind of finding our feet after the international break. But today showed that we are back to that confidence. We're playing well again. We're moving the ball well again. It wasn't slow. It wasn't dull. It wasn't boring, which a lot of Tuchel's reign has been. So it's good to see that we kind of returned to what we saw before the international break, which is free-flowing attacking play, and thankfully Palace kind of rolled over and let us do it too. So, it was nice to have kind of an easier opponent so that we didn't have to wear ourselves out. But now it's all about turning to midweek and saying, all right, that was a good performance, but it was a little easy. We got to be prepared for Porto to be a lot better than that, and hopefully go out and get another win. Be on to the semis, probably against Real Madrid. So, anyways, with all that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this game? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.